Good morning, my dear students. Today we shall continue our class. Last class we discussed about classes and objects. Today we will be starting with a new chapter called Function Overloading and Member Functions. Hope you all are doing well. I pray to God that God bless you with good health and success in life. So today's chapter is function overloading and member functions. So this is the 8th chapter of your second PU syllabus, and this is one of the smallest chapter which includes only 3 topics, and I shall introduce you to the weightage of this particular chapter. That is, you will be getting only one 5-mark question from this chapter. The total weightage of this chapter is 5 marks. So from this chapter you will get one 5-mark question. So there are, as I told you, there are only 3 topics. Among 3 topics, definitely you will get one question for 5 marks from your annual exam. Let us start this chapter. Before that, let us have a recap of the things what we studied in the previous sections. So in the previous class, the chapter what we discussed was classes and objects, and the topics what we discussed were characteristics of OOPs, class definition, access specifiers, creating objects, accessing members, class definition inside and outside. We also discussed how we can use arrays as members. Then we discussed how we can pass an object as an argument to the function, how to create an object array. So these were the topics what we discussed in the previous chapter. Now let us start with chapter number 8, that is function overloading and member functions. Let me recall the topic what you have studied in characteristics of OOP or basic concepts of OOP, that is polymorphism. Polymorphism is a Greek word which means poly means many, morph means forms. That means one name, many forms. Polymorphism means one name, many forms. So as in the previous year also you had studied this topic called polymorphism. We never implemented that in our program, but this year we will be implementing polymorphism in our program. How? So in C++, the concept of polymorphism, what we study, there will be one name, many forms. There are 2 types of polymorphism, function overloading and operator overloading. So the concept of polymorphism is implemented in C++ using 2 concepts, that is function overloading and operator overloading. So in C++, the concept of polymorphism is implemented using function overloading and operator overloading. Let us start with function overloading. So let us check what exactly function overloading means. So function overloading means 2 or more functions have same name, but they differ in the number of arguments or the data types used in arguments. So what is function overloading? Function overloading means 2 or more functions, they will have the same name, but they differ in number of arguments, or if the number of argument is same, then the data type used in the argument list changes. So function overloading means we define many functions with the same name which carry out similar tasks, but the data type in the argument list is changed. Let us check the syntax or the example for function overloading. So on the screen you can see three functions: add, add, add. All the three functions has the same name. Let us check out the argument list. In the first function we have add int a, int b, which means there are two arguments in the first add function. Similarly, we can see the second add function which also has two arguments. The first argument is a float and the second argument is also a float variable, that is y. Then we have the third add function. The third add function has three arguments: int a, int b and int c. So let us check out the difference between all the three add function. First add function has two arguments. Second add function also has two arguments, but the data type is changed. As explained earlier, the function can be overloaded by changing number of arguments or the data type used in the argument list. So when the third add function has three arguments, all the three arguments are of same type, that is integer. So here the add function is overloaded by changing the argument list or the data type used in the argument list. If you observe the first two functions, add int a, int b, add float x, float y, both the function has the same number of arguments, but the data type used in the argument list is different. Whereas in the third function it has three arguments. All the three are of same type, that is integer. This is the way where we can overload any function. Either we can change the argument list or the data type used in the argument list. So now we can see another function, that is add, the fourth function, int a, int float b. That means in the first function we have used both integers, second function both floats. Now in the fourth function I am using one int and one float, and third function we are using three arguments. So in the above example there are four add functions, one with two integer arguments, one with two float arguments, one with three integer arguments, and the final function with one integer and one float argument. So here add function is overloaded by changing number of arguments and the data type used in the argument list. So this is how we can overload a function in C++. Let us have a look with one example here. So where we will overload a function called volume of a cube, which will overload volume of a cube, volume of a cylinder, volume of a cone, cuboid. So we include iostream.h, iomanip.h and conio.h. So iostream for input and output operations, iomanip for endl and zw, conio for clear screen and getch. Let us check out the class name. The class name I have given here is class overload. Let us check out the functions which are included in class overload. So here we have float volume. Volume is the member function with one argument, one integer argument, which will calculate the volume of a cube. Then we have another function, that is volume, with two arguments. Both arguments are of type integer, and this function will calculate the volume of cone, that is 0.33 into pi into r square h. The first function, volume with one argument, it calculates the volume of a cube, and the second volume function, you observe the function name, both are volume and volume, but the second function has two arguments, and the second function calculates the volume of a cone. Let us check out the third volume function. Again, the third volume function has two arguments, both the arguments are float type, and the third volume function will calculate the volume of a cylinder. So pi r square h. So we have totally three volume functions. First will calculate volume of a cube, second function volume again calculates the volume of a cone, and the third function, it calculates the volume of a cylinder. So kindly observe the argument list. First volume has only one argument, second volume has two arguments, and the third volume function also has two arguments, but the data type is changed. In second function we have used integers, whereas in third function we have used float. Let us have a look on the fourth function, and the fourth volume function takes three arguments, integer L, integer B and integer H, which will calculate the volume of a cuboid. So return L into B into H. So now we shall end the class definition. The class definition ends here. So we shall observe the class definitions. So first we have volume with one argument, second volume with two arguments, that is integers, third volume function again with two arguments, float type, and the fourth volume with three arguments of type integer. Now we shall see the main function and how these functions are called and invoked. Clear screen. We are creating a object, overload D. Here we are creating the object. The object name is D and the class name is overload. So overload is the class name and D is the object. Now you can observe the volume function is called with one argument. So you can see volume of 10. Again a volume function is called with two arguments, that is integer. So now we will see the third call is made by passing two floating point values, and the fourth function call is made by passing three integers as argument. So first function with one argument, second function with two argument, third function also with two argument but they are of type float, and the fourth function uses, it is called using three arguments. All the three arguments are of type integer. So let us go through the program again. Class overload, there are four functions and all the four function has the same name, volume, volume, volume and volume. First volume function with one argument, second volume function with two arguments, two integer arguments, third volume with two float arguments, and the fourth volume function with three integer arguments. And whenever they are called by passing different arguments to each of the function. When one argument is passed, the function which calculates volume of a cube gets executed. When a function is called, volume function is called by passing two integer argument, then compiler executes the volume function which calculates the volume of a cube. Similarly, when the volume function with two float values are called, compiler executes the volume function which calculates the volume of a cylinder. And when a volume function is called with three arguments, then the compiler executes the fourth volume function which will calculate the volume of a cuboid. Let us move on to the next topic, that is need for function overloading. Why function overloading is required? First, function overloading means two or more functions have same name, but they differ in the number of arguments or data type used in the arguments. So therefore we say that the function is overloaded. So we can, if many functions are carrying out the same task, instead of giving different names which will be difficult for us to remember, we can give the same name. Let us check out the advantages of function overloading. So when different functions are created for different operation, then the programmer can use the different names. Instead, if many functions are doing the same task, it is difficult for us to remember the names of each function. Instead of that, we can have same name to all the functions and we can change the argument list. When different functions are created for different operations, then the user has to call respective function depending on the situation. Instead, for different situation, if we have the same function name called with different arguments using function overloading, then it is job of the compiler that will decide to execute the appropriate function depending upon the function call or the argument list, and the code also executes fast. The next advantage is it is easier to understand the flow of information and debug. It is also easy to debug. Next is the code maintenance is easy. The last advantage is we can create a easier interface between the programs and the real world entities, because there is the different name complexity is reduced as we can use the same name for many functions. So we need not remember many function name, only we need to change the argument list as all the functions will have the same name in overloading. Let's check out the disadvantages of function overloading. The disadvantages of function overloading is each function in a set of overloaded function must have a different argument list. That means if you want to overload a function, you need to change the argument list. Without changing the argument list, you will not be able to overload. The next disadvantage is if type def is used to name a function, then function is not considered as different type. These are the two advantages of function overloading. So these are the disadvantages of function overloading. There are only two disadvantages. That first disadvantage is if we want to overload a function, then we have to change the argument list. If type def is used, we will not be able to overload the functions. Let us continue the next topic, that is inline functions. What is inline function? So when a function is called, there are many things happening. First is when a function is called, the memory will be allocated to the parameters, and It requires some time and also space. Sometimes the function body is just one or two statements. So the function body can be executed in much less time than the time required to transferring the control from calling function to the called function. Therefore, we can avoid the CPU's time being wasted in using inline function. So when an inline function is used, the compiler replaces the function body with the function call itself. When a function is called, the control transfers from the calling function to the called function. Sometimes a function is very small. Here the CPU's time is wasted in transferring the control from calling function to the called function. In much less time, the body gets executed. In such a case, to avoid this wastage of CPU's time, we are using inline function. So what if a function is declared as inline? When a function is declared as inline, the compiler replaces the function call with the function body itself. How do we make a function as inline? The syntax shows to create a inline function, we use a keyword inline followed by the return type, function name, argument list and the function body. For example, so in the following example we see how we can create a inline function. So we are including iostream.h, iomanip.h, then we have inline int square int s. We are using one inline function and the name of the inline function is square. It takes one argument which will calculate the square of a given number. So now we shall create a main function and we shall call the inline function. So sq is equal to square of 5. So the square function is called by passing 5 as the argument. When this function is called directly, the control will not go to square function, as square is declared as inline. The function body is replaced with the function call and the function gets executed very quickly. We move on to the next topic, that is advantages of inline function. The inline functions are very compact to the function call. Therefore, the size of the object is considerably reduced. The speed of the execution of a program increases. Very efficient code can be generated. The readability of the program is increased. Then we have disadvantages of inline function. As the body of the inline function is substituted in place of the function call, the size of the executable file increases and more memory is needed. Let me repeat the advantages. The inline functions are compatible or they are compact. The size of the object code is reduced. The speed of the execution is increased. Efficient code can be generated and program readability can be increased. The disadvantages is, as the function call is replaced with the function body, the size of the executable file increases, so it requires more memory. Now we shall discuss a friend function. So what is the advantages of friend function? So friend function is a special non-member function. Why it is so special? Because as we know that private data cannot be accessed outside the class, but friend function can access private members of the class. Though it is not a member, it is a non-member function, but still it can access the private members of the class. Friends are allowed to access the private members of the class. A friend function is not a member, it is friend to the class. You can see the syntax class name in the public section. Always we have to write the friend function in the public section. Friend, return type, function name and the argument list. We shall discuss the friend function using this example. Class demo. In class demo we have a private members int a and b. Public we have get data function which will accept the two numbers, and then we have a friend float mean. So you can observe void mean, it is not a member, it's a non-member function, but you can see we are accessing d dot a plus d dot b, that is a and b are the private members of class demo, but still we are accessing it in the main function. The advantage of friend function is it can access the private members of a class outside the class, as it is not a member, it is a friend to the class. So let us check out the advantages or the features of friend function. A friend function, it is not a member, but it has the full access right to access private and protected members of the class. A friend function cannot be called without using the object as the argument. They are normal external functions with some special privilege. It cannot access the members directly, but it has to use the object reference. The friend function is declared with the keyword friend, but while defining we are not using the scope resolution or the friend keyword. As this chapter includes only 3 topics: function overloading, inline functions and friend functions, I have prepared a list of expected questions from this chapter, as you will be getting 1 5-mark question from this chapter. So let us have a look on the expected questions from this chapter. Kindly pay attention. The first expected question is, what is function overloading? Discuss the need for function overloading. Explain function overloading with a programming example. Next is, what are inline functions? Write the disadvantages and advantages of inline functions. The next expected question is, what is inline function? Explain with syntax and programming example. Next is, what is a friend function? Write the features of a friend function. The last expected question from this chapter is, explain friend function with syntax and example. As you will be getting 1 5-mark question, definitely there will be one question either on function overloading or inline function or friend function. Thank you for patience listening. Have a great day. Kindly attend the test and do well. God bless you. Thank you.